Well, hello there, everybody. It's Grandpa Scott, and I'm here today. Actually, we're outside because it's so beautiful that I thought I'd read you a story outside, and I hope it becomes a great adventure for you. Today's story is called Elliot's Shipwreck. Can you imagine what that's all about? Oh, I bet you do. Let's take a look inside, okay? Elliot Moose woke up feeling very brave. All night long he dreamed of sailing the high seas in search of adventure. Do you guys like adventure? Grandpa Scott does. Today he would build a ship and go sailing with his friend Socks. Socks loved Elliot's idea. "We'll need sailor clothes," she said. She rummaged through her special box and found each of them an outfit. Then off they ran to the kitchen. It was time to build their ship. Elliot and Socks poked through the cupboards and dug through the drawers, collecting parts for their boat. They packed a picnic lunch. They dragged everything to the pond and began to build. Elliot put the pieces in place, and Socks tied them with string. Up went the sail, and their ship was done. It was perfect, just right for two sailors. What do you think? Pretty good. Elliot and Socks were putting their ship in the water when Amy rushed out of the house. "May I go too?" she called. "I love a boat ride." Elliot and Socks looked at each other. Would the boat be big enough for all of them? We'll have to see. "We're sorry, Amy, but our ship isn't big enough for three," said Elliot. Amy took a closer look. The boat was very small. "I guess you're right," she said softly. "Would you like to trade places with me later?" asked Socks. Amy brightened. "Oh, yes," she said. She reached over and helped push the boat into the pond. That was really nice of Socks. She was willing to share some of the time in the boat with her. Elliot and Socks sailed off to adventure. The pond became the wide blue ocean. Their ship was tall and fast. The two brave sailors fought nasty pirates and searched for hidden treasure. They even rode a whale's tail and tangled with a tuna. Now that's adventure, don't you think? Elliot and Socks spent the entire morning at sea. Then, tired and hungry, they headed for the port. It was time for lunch. Elliot spread a blanket onto the deck. He offered Socks a sandwich and took one for himself. Then Elliot settled back, sighed happily. "I love sailing," he said. But Elliot had barely taken a bite when he noticed that his foot was wet. He looked down. One corner of the boat was underwater. "Oh no," he said. "I think we have a leak." "Oh my, what's going to happen?" "A leak," cried Socks. "Let's get back to shore." Elliot knelt down and paddled as hard as he could, but the boat only turned in a little circle. They were stranded in the middle of the pond. What's going to happen? Elliot watched the water creep up the deck. "We're sinking!" he cried. Socks scrambled up the mast. Elliot was right behind her. "Help! Help!" they called as the mast began to lean toward the water. Look at Elliot's eyes. He looks frightened, doesn't he? Amy heard the shouts. She raced inside to get help, but no one was home. She would have to rescue Elliot and Socks by herself. Moments later, Amy was back on the doorstep with a lifeboat and a paddle. "I'm coming," she yelled. "That's great to have friends to look out for you." Elliot heard Amy's call, but he and Socks were sinking fast. She'd never make it in time. What were they going to do? As the mast leant lower and closer to the branches that overhung the bush, maybe Socks could reach them. "I'll try," said Socks. She stretched out as far as she could. "Closer, closer, I've got it." But Socks grabbed the branch and she lost her balance, and they both went tumbling down. Where did they go? "Just in time," said Amy as Socks and Elliot plopped into her boat. "Oh, Amy, thank you," sighed Elliot. "Yes, thank you," said Socks. "I thought we were going to get wet for sure." "You're welcome," said Amy as she giggled. "I got my boat ride after all." "Well, that's just great." On their way back to shore, the three friends made plans to go sailing again that afternoon. This time, said Elliot, we'll build a ship that's big enough for 3 of us. Amy beamed. Elliot reached out and scooped their picnic from the water. But first he says, it's time for lunch. So there they are, Amy, Socks, and Elliot, all eating lunch. And they had a great adventure out on the water. And that's the end of our story. So a couple neat things to learn here, guys, is 1, it's always fun to have great adventures, but it's even more fun to have great friends. So I hope you guys all work hard to make good friends and be loyal and kind and share with one another. So, now's the time to go outside and have some fun, because Elliot's story of the shipwreck, it's all done.